Good morning. Welcome to 90% Knitting. This is episode 166, and I'm Lisa, your host, also known as Fiber Nymph on Ravelry, Plurk, and Instagram. Today is Wednesday, June 24th, not Tuesday, June 23rd, which is when I originally recorded this episode. Long story short, we've had crazy storms here off and on the last, I would say, probably we're going on 3 weeks now. And yesterday was one of those days, and it seems for whatever reason, when it gets the least bit windy or there's a storm going on somewhere, this year my power wants to go whoop, like it does that flash thing where it flashes off just long enough to screw things up. And it didn't do it while I was recording yesterday, although it was doing some kind of, like you could tell something wasn't quite right. But that could also just be the wiring in my house, which is a totally different issue. But then as I was processing the episode yesterday, the power did go out. And so I was like, it was almost, I would say, at least 2/3, if not more, done rendering the podcast in my processing software, the first step. And it did that. It went off and on real fast. I'm like, ugh. So I had to turn everything back on. I had to try to, it was identifying the project, like when I turned it back on, because I hadn't saved it. Yeah. But it had saved the initial part of it, I guess auto-saved it. So I started the processing part over again. Okay, fine. So I did that, and right as I was nearing the end of that, it was getting really stormy again, and I knew I needed to shut my computer down. I'm like, please, 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 just, finish rendering this. And so it did, like, it got to the end of that. I finished everything else I was doing, and I shut the computer down. Well, it wasn't until later last night that I finally got to turn everything back on, and I was going to upload. Or no, I wasn't going to upload. I had to do the next part of the processing. I wasn't able to do that. And so I went in to find the file, and realized it's like that file size looks really small compared to what it should be. And lo and behold, it had only saved the last 7 minutes, or it had only processed the last 7 minutes. I don't know where the rest of the video was, because when I looked at it in the software initially, it was there. Everything was there. So I don't have any idea what happened. All I know is that by that time of night, I was not re-recording last night. I still had to get all my shop update listings up for today's update, which is at noon Eastern. Because I hadn't been able to do those either, because everything was working so weirdly yesterday. And maybe it wasn't even just the storms. I've heard that there was like solar flares or some sort of electromagnetic hoo-ha going on in the atmosphere yesterday. I don't really know the details of that. So maybe that was messing with my computer too. I don't know. All I know is everything I tried to do on the computer yesterday basically turned to crap, and I've had to redo it, and it took me till late last night to get my shop update, my listings up, and so now here we are. It's a new day, and I'm going to try this recording thing again. Yes, I know that I said I was going to make that a long story short. I kind of missed the mark on that, I guess. But honestly, today is a much cooler day than yesterday was, so I'm not sweating profusely like I was yesterday, so that's a bonus. You may notice the background is a little different. That's because I have shifted my location for about 6 feet to the right. My desk used to be over in that corner over there by my window, and another probably long story, not so short. Because of all these power flashes that we've had in the past few weeks and my computer going off and on too much, I finally decided to invest in a UPS unit, an uninterruptible power supply, which basically is a mediator between the power coming in through the wall. In case you don't know, I'm sure a lot of you probably do. You plug it into the wall, and then you plug everything else into that. So it's sort of like a surge protector, except bigger and more powerful. And it basically, I don't completely understand all the ins and outs of it yet. I just know I have it set up. It should power things long enough so that if the power does surge, my computer won't go off right away. And if the power goes out completely, I will have time to actually come in and shut it down properly. If it happens in the middle of the night, though, I'm not really sure because I don't shut my computer down at night. At any rate, when I ordered this thing, I got it through Amazon. I'd done a ton of research online, reading about them and everything, finding what I needed. And they're like, oh, to determine how much, power you need to be able to manage with this, use this tool. And I'm like, I'm not an electrician. I have no idea how to do that. They're like meters and I'm like, no, just tell me. So I found a really good article from a reputable resource talking about, this is what the average household needs. If you need a little bit more, go up a step. And here's a good brand. Don't buy the brands out in Best Buy, because you're paying for the name. Get this, it's really reliable, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yes, I love articles like that, like custom product reviews and things like that from, places that don't sell them, like independent ones. So that's so helpful. So I ordered this thing. I was expecting something that was maybe slightly larger than my external hard drive, which I would say is about the size of your basic black covered King James Bible for a reference point. Slightly, like about that size, maybe a little thicker. That's what my external hard drive looks like. So I was thinking from the picture of this thing, I thought, okay, it's probably gonna be a little bit bigger than that, but oh my gosh, it's about half the size of my computer tower. It's like this, and it's a brick. It is so heavy, which I guess is good because that means there's lots of stuff in there protecting my computer, right? I don't know. In order to plug in and out, what you have to also understand is my house is wired really screwy. This room, I have 4 walls, obviously. There's plugs on all 4 walls. Several years ago, I replaced the plugs, the outlets, because a lot of them were fried and just needed replaced. In order to do that, I was turning breakers off, and I came to realize that the plug on this wall directly in front of me is actually on the circuit with my bedroom, which is on the other side of this wall. The plug on the front wall here is actually part of the circuit that works all the outside lights. And the plug on the wall behind me is actually part of the circuit for the living room. I have no idea what circuit the hall light is on. It may be also on the same one as the wall behind me because I never used that plug and I don't think I replaced that one. I don't know. But that's how screwy my house is wired. This room does not have its own circuit. And my bedroom, which is where I needed to plug this in, my bedroom is already sort of overtaxed electrically. And so I'm really not sure how well this is going to work. But I had to use this plug because my cable also directly plugs into my computer box. It's not wireless in here. I mean, my computer, I could be wireless, but my computer does not have wireless capabilities. It's older. And so I have to be plugged directly into an Ethernet cable. And it only stretches so far. So I either can be in that corner or I can be in this corner next to my closet. So I'm now in this corner. Don't ask me why, because all I had to do really was plug the darn thing in last night, plug everything into it, and I could have been good to go. But for some reason, and I know there was a moment where I had like an epiphany, this flash of I should rearrange things. It felt like a good idea to rearrange. And so I did. The big shelves that used to be over to my right are now over to my left in the corner where my desk was. And my desk is now right here in the corner where the shelves were. It's actually kind of nicer because I'm not right up next against that window now, so the light isn't bombarding me quite as much. You can kind of see it, but I also have a lamp on here too. The only downside is my overhead light is now literally right over top of my head. So that is a little interesting. You get a really good shot of the top of my head. It's well lit. I don't know. And since I was doing this so late at night, maybe, do you do that too? Do you suddenly like get a bug up your butt about, oh, I should rearrange the whole house at 10:30 at night? I do things like that. It was actually not 10:30 at night. It was a little earlier, but still, I had other stuff to do, and here I am rearranging stuff. Oh my goodness. So anyway, I did not really have time to clean out all of the stuff in the back here. It's still really, really messy, but it's a new view, and you can see my sunflower picture a little bit more. You can still see my yellow walls. I keep thinking I should maybe find a different location altogether to record, because this room is kind of messy sometimes. But people like my yellow walls and like my sunflower picture. So I hate to disrupt that. But I think I am going to end up rearranging this back wall as well, because I'm trying to clean off these bookshelves over here. And now you can't see my yarn cubbies. You can see these yarn cubbies, but this is all my business yarn. Like, this is stuff that's either sold or being sold. So it's not the same as my stash. I don't know. We'll see where it all goes. But for right now, here I am. And I'm 10 minutes in, haven't even started into the normal show stuff. And this is going to be long because I've got a lot to talk about. But now you at least know why I recorded a day later than I planned to and why I'm in a new location. Hey, thanks for being here. If this is your first time, I don't usually babble about this kind of stuff straight off. Yeah, I don't. Oh my gosh, my nose is really itchy today. I don't know why. I'm sorry. I'll try to stop scratching it. Let me say hi to some people. Donna from North Carolina, Tammy from Connecticut, and Katrina from Tennessee. Katrina also has a podcast, the Yarn 30 podcast. I would recommend watching that if you haven't already. She's fairly new. I think she has 3 or 4 episodes out, so I've watched a couple of those. Check that out. But thank you guys for introducing yourselves on the welcome board. I love reading that. Yeah, and I know I never really mentioned this up front. A lot of podcasters do, but if you're already watching the podcast, then clearly you've found it somewhere. But just so you know, you can always find it on my blog, which is fibernymph.com. I still upload to Blip, although I don't know how many people watch from Blip anymore. It's always up on Podcast Garden. Again, not many people watch directly from Podcast Garden, but that's how I get it onto iTunes now. So it's also on iTunes and also on YouTube. So there's plenty of places and venues that you can find the podcast. And information about the podcast and Fiber Nymph Dye Works you can find on my Facebook page, which is the Fiber Nymph Dye Works Facebook page, not my personal Facebook page. There's a 90% knitting group on Ravelry. There's a Fiber Nymph Dye Works group on Ravelry. And each of those kind of are separate. Like, Fiber Nymph Dye Works group is more the yarn stuff. 90% knitting group is more the podcast-oriented, knit-along, drawings kind of stuff. So, okay, and the show notes are always, well, no. If I end up doing show notes, which I try to, but I don't always find success in that. When I do my show notes, they're always up in the episode thread on the 90% knitting board in Ravelry. That's where you can find show notes. Okay, let's now get on to the show so that I have something to write show notes about, right? Knitting. Oh, crud. It's something I need to show you is back there. I'll have to get up and get it. But first, let me walk you through. Oh my gosh. I don't know what's wrong with me today. I'm sorry. My Verdure shawl. It is seeing some decent progress. This is my Fat Squirrel bag. Love this bag. Okay. I am up to 28 edge repeats. This you could see way better yesterday because I had a white tank top on and I stood up and held it up against it. And you could see the edging really, really well. I don't think this is going to work quite as well, but let me try. Yeah, the stripes aren't going to be quite as helpful. But you can kind of see the edging. The motif. Yeah, the white shirt yesterday worked way better. Anyway, it's coming along really nicely. I've done this enough that I'm not making nearly as many mistakes as I used to be. Where's the other end of the needle? I don't want stitches falling off. Yeah, I have 28 edge repeats done. I have to do 48, so I'm well over halfway. I'll definitely have enough yarn. I'm using my bedazzled base in the Thorin colorway. So let's see, you can see it a little bit closer up. It's the sparkly yarn, so it's probably not focusing and I can't see through it, so I don't know what you just saw there. The pattern itself is from Isabel of Fluffy Fibers podcast, and it's Verdure, and hopefully it'll be, I've been averaging like 2 repeats a day. Usually it's my project for first thing in the morning. I did not work on it this morning. But otherwise, I usually work on it first thing in the morning and I get 2 edge repeats done. Sometimes I get a 3rd done later in the day, but not always. Either way, if I've got 20 more repeats to go, so 10 more days approximately. So it probably won't be done next week, but maybe the week after. We'll see how that goes. So that is one of my projects. Oh, I worked on Emma's Afghan, and I did decide I'm going with the chevron. I really, really like that, and I love how it's turning out. So I've made a good deal of progress on that. Matter of fact, this is all I've wanted to knit on at certain times. So here we go. Oh, the coloring is much better today. Yesterday it was looking really washed out. So there it is. I'm so happy with how it's turning out. I am using my Fiber Nymph Dye Works Cozy Base, which is the superwash worsted weight. And if you remember the first design I was trying to, that I had started doing, I was using 4 colors. I've added a 5th in this one. So in this one, we've got Peacock Blue, and then the Magenta, Lime Green, and Vivid Violet, which is one of the newer colors. Let me hold it back here so you can get the, there we go, color's better. And the one I added is Silver Gray. I decided it needed a neutral in there. Obviously, I am not following any rhyme or reason for where I'm putting the colors or how big I'm making the stripes. It's just sort of a random thing that I'm doing willy-nilly. And I like it that way, and I think she'll like it. I did measure yesterday because I'm a little concerned about width. I wanted this to be at least 4 feet wide, so 48 inches. That was my goal. Each of these chevron sections is approximately 4 3/8 inches wide. There are 10 of them, plus I've got these little garter edges here, which originally I thought, you know, that looks kind of weird. Maybe I shouldn't have put that on there. But I put it on there so that things wouldn't curl. And I'm glad I did, because each of those is adding about 2 inches. So it's coming in, straight measurement, it's coming in just under 48 inches. But I think once I block it and stretch it a little, because the eyelets in the chevron pattern, those are going to open up some. It'll be at least 48 inches, and that's fine. I mean, she's just one girl. She's tall and thin, so it's more the length that I really need to worry about. I want to make it at least 72 inches. That's my goal. 4 by 6 feet. That's what I'm aiming for. I have 10 inches done, so I have 62 more inches to go. I would love to have this done for her birthday. Her birthday is in mid-August, and I will be seeing her shortly after her birthday. I'm going to go down. I'd love to have this done for her birthday, but that may be unrealistic, and I'm not going to worry about it. If it's not done, then she'll get it for Christmas, and I'll knit her something else. I actually have something else in mind to knit her. A couple things. I never have a shortage of things to knit her that I can do for her birthday. So anyway, but that's what I'm doing, and I'm working on US 7 needles. These are my Knitter's Pride. Melissa, tell me, I don't know. Melissa always knows the name of my needles, and I can never remember. Whatever the wooden ones are, they're really nice because they're hard and they're nice and slippy, and they have a nice point on them. So I love those needles. And it's hiding out in my moose bag from the Silver Shed that I purchased through the Leading Men Fiber Arts website a while ago. So I love this project. And the piece that I had made in that other motif that I had started, I think I'm going to turn that into a pillow. So it won't really match in pattern-wise, but it'll match up enough color-wise that she can have an extra throw pillow. So that's my plan for that. It won't go to waste. Okay, here's what I have to stand up and get. Hang on. Yes, rear view. Exciting. All right, I have a hoe this week, too. My sock. This is my Turtlepurl yarns. So I don't know why I turned it around. It's the same either way. Well, it's not the same because the pooling is a little bit different, but I'm aiming it towards the light. Don't go towards the light. I finished this. It's just a plain vanilla sock. I love my plain vanilla socks, and I did a regular slip stitch heel flap on this. I did not bother with an afterthought heel. And you know what? It didn't mess up. The pooling on this worked out just so interestingly that I love it. I couldn't hit myself in the head with it, but I couldn't ask for anything better. I'm really happy with how this turned out. Again, this is Turtlepurl yarns in the soft shell turtle toes base. Blueberry Margarita colorway. I have no idea if she still does this colorway because I bought this, oh my gosh, 1, 2, 3, no, 4 years ago maybe? I bought it before my first Rhinebeck. I think that was 4 years ago. Because I think I saw her at Rhinebeck and I had just purchased the yarn prior to that. If I'm remembering correctly. I could be totally wrong on that, but that's my memory. Anyway, using my normal US 1.5s. I did this over 52 stitches. Remember last time I told you I'd cast this on and had to rip it out a couple times because it turned out huge? Well, there was a reason for that. When I finally got around to making my project page for this on Ravelry, I came to realize that this is actually considered a sport weight yarn. So it is bigger than a fingering weight. And that's why it was turning out so large. I don't think it's a true sport weight though, because normally if I do a sport weight sock, I'm usually working on like 48 stitches. This 52, I know it's only the difference of 4 stitches, but 52 is even a little, it's a little snugger than most of my socks. So I don't know. I love it. It's very nice. It's an MCN yarn. I don't really knit with MCN very much. I think I've only ever made myself one other pair of socks from a cashmere base yarn, and it was one of my colorways. It's super soft. The thing about MCNs that I find, especially in dyeing them, is they turn out a little more muted. Colors are never quite as vivid on an MCN base as they are on, say, you know, a merino or a BFL, something like that. The yarns, I don't know. That cashmere just gives it a softness, and I'm seeing that as I knit it up because it almost takes on a look like it's been washed already a time or two. Not like faded, but just softened, you know, and obviously it hasn't. But it's beautiful, and I absolutely love it. You're getting sort of a bluish cast from the window over there. I did not bother covering up the window today, but let me see if I... Ooh, no. The lighting may be a work in progress in here until I get it figured out right. But anyway, that's the first sock. It is done, and I did cast on pretty immediately the second sock because I don't like to end up with second sock syndrome. So I did cast on just the second one. I've got the ribbing and about an inch of the cuff. And again, we've got the fun limey striping going on there. Somebody did ask me about what the colors are in this because it was hard to tell. Okay, so you've got this bright purple for what the first color. Okay, maybe if I make it closer, you'll get better color. I don't know. All right, so it's the purple, and then you've got the lime green, and then the darker stuff is sort of a blue. It's like the blueberry, I guess. The only other color in it, I don't think was an intentional color. It was an incidental color from where the lime green and the purple bled together at where they met. That's a normal part of the dyeing process, and it's fun because you do end up getting these secondary colors that you're not necessarily expecting per se, or maybe you are and you know they do that. It's just fun. I love that part of dyeing. I love seeing how when the colors kind of overlap and blend together, you sometimes do get a very distinct third color happening, and that's what's going on here. It's just a brighter blue fleck that happens at that join. So really cool. Love it. Loving the socks. And this is in my Knitting Gnome bag, my mixtape bag. Love this bag. Sarah from the Knitting Gnome, actually, she has a podcast now too, which she let me know about, and I watched and I enjoyed that very much. So you might want to check that out. It's called Knitting, not a Knitting Gnome. Oh my gosh, Sarah, I'm sorry. I'm messing everything up for you. Naughty Gnome. See? Naughty Gnome. KNOTTYGNOME crafts. And I know this is not focusing. I don't know why it's not focusing. There we go. Naughty Gnome Crafts. Goodness gracious. And that's what her podcast is also called. The other thing was she let me know that this little pull tab on the zipper pull, when I was describing it last episode, I think I said I wasn't sure what the material was, and maybe it was some sort of plastic. And she corrected me. It's not plastic. It's actually fine leather cording. So there you go. But it's just on there. I mean, I'll be honest, it's short enough that I don't really pull with it. I pull mainly with the zipper, but it makes it easier to find the little zipper pull because I can grab that first. So anyway, I may have another Naughty Gnome bag on the way that I'm really excited about, and I can't wait to show you. It's a sickness, people. So anyway, those are the only projects that I worked on this week. I have a few other ones that I did not work on, and I'm not going to even bother talking about them. I did spin, and do I have that in here? See, I recorded. Is it here? No, I think it's. Oh, yeah, it is. Hang on. I'm all over the place today. The two lump boops. Yes. You know, if I gave my podcast names, like actual titles, that would be the title of this one. Lump boops. Loop bumps. The two loop bullseye bumps that I have been spinning now for probably close to a year. I started the first one prior to SSK last year. I did not take it to SSK to work on, but I'd started it prior to SSK, and then I've been working on it ever since. So it's coming up on a year. I finished the first one a while ago, started the second one, and I finally finished spinning the second one last weekend. Well, my original plan was, because they were both blue. One was very darker blues, and the other one was lighter blues, and the center was like cream and white and everything. Well, my goal was to ply the two of those together rather than just Navajo plying the two individually like I would normally do with a loop bump. So that was my plan. So when I got done, because I was spinning these on my Sidekick on my jumbo flyer, the jumbo bulky flyer, I only have 2 bobbins, so I wound them both off into center pull balls, okay, so that I could ply from the center pull balls, which made perfect sense. Matter of fact, I'm going to put a picture of that in here. Okay, so that's what they look like. Once I had them in the ball form, though, I'm like, I don't know how this is going to work, putting these together. Because the beginnings were both very light, and it was like this baby blue and white. That might look weird. And there's such long color repeats that I was second guessing myself. So I posted it to Instagram, and people were like, oh, go for it. And then other people were like, well, maybe start with the light in the center of the one and apply it to the dark on the outside of the other and work the opposite way. Okay, well, I decided to just go for it the way I had originally planned to first. And so this was what I was getting. The baby blue and the white. And I really didn't like it at all. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. This just is not my color palette. It's way too pastel-y for me. So I broke the yarn off, and I thought, okay, I'll try it the other way. So I picked up the white again, but I started putting it together with the dark on the other one. And again, long repeats, and I was in the white for a long time, so I had basically the same kind of yarn except black and white instead of blue and white. Much like my shirt, black and white. And then I'm finally now into the cream and still in the black. It's okay. I'm really looking forward to when I get to the darker colors together, because I think that's really the part that I'm going to love. But I'll tell you what, I can't wait to be done with it. Like, I'm not enjoying this spinning project anymore. I want to be spinning something else. I just want it done. I kind of feel like Wendy from Knit One Heart 2 and her Hate of Fude, who got to the point where she's like, I just have to finish this. I just want it off the needles. This is how I'm feeling about this fiber. I just want it done. I just want it to be plied and done with it, and just done. Done, done, done. And again, the only reason that I tried to do it this way was because I wanted to basically use up loop bumps, because I have a lot of them. I should probably just de-stash some of them, because really, what can you do with them? I mean, the ones with the long repeats, basically all you're going to do is you're going to spin them and you're going to 3-ply them. Now, if you guys have done other things with your loop bumps, let me know. Comment in the episode thread. Tell me what your options are. Because, I mean, you can ply them with another yarn. You can ply them with another loop bump. You could leave them as singles, I guess, if you spin them thick enough. But I tend to spin mine pretty fine. I don't know. Give me ideas, because I've got so many, and I've done so many as a 3-ply, you know, Navajo ply, that it's like they're good for shawls because there's so much yardage, but what else can you knit with them? I don't know. I don't know. Just give me some ideas. I'd love some. All right, let's talk about the alphabet KnitAlong. Oh my gosh, I'm not getting up again. Okay, yes I will. Sorry. If this is the first time you're watching, I'm usually way more organized than this, but since I had already done this yesterday and I put everything away because I thought it was done, hair or fiber or something in my mouth. I didn't have everything out again today. I'm sorry. Bad podcaster. The alphabet, knit along, and crochet along, craft along, whatever you want to call it, is continuing. No, it's knitting and crocheting. What am I talking about? We're still in June, which is the A through F month. So I'm enjoying looking at your projects. You guys have caught on to how to put up your posts with your points and everything. Everybody's doing that really well. If there's something missing, I usually message you on Rav and let you know, hey, can you add such and such, or you added this up wrong, and I explain what happened or whatever. But so far it's going pretty well, so I'm so glad you're having fun with it. I keep getting messages from you guys letting me know how much you're enjoying the knit along, and I'm glad. That's what it's all about. Just a reminder of what the prizes are for this month. There will be a skein of Dharma Dye Works that was donated by Nula Bula of Dharma Dye Works, and that is her Mermaid Tears colorway, which was a prototype colorway, and it's beautiful. Look at those blues, and there's like some blues and greens and purple in there, and I can't get it to focus. It wants to focus on me. There we go. Really, really pretty colors. And this is a 100% superwash merino fingering weight sock weight base. So that's one prize. Another prize will be my bedazzled base in the dragonfly colorway. So you got some sparkles on there with some blues and some greens as well. And lastly, the other prize will be from Melinda Melinda Vermeer. She has donated $10 worth of her patterns as a prize, not just this month, but for all 4 months of the knit along. So thank you very much, Melinda, for doing that. Don't forget to check out the discount thread, the Alphabet Cowl discount thread that different vendors have put up. Discounts that they're offering for people doing the knit along. If you are one and your name begins with A through F and you want to offer a discount code for this month, please feel free to post that. You don't need my permission. If you want to do it for July, which is G through another letter, and I don't want to tell you right off the top of my head because I will get it wrong, and my list is way over there because my bulletin board is not here anymore. I have to rehang everything. I'm sorry. Check the list. I just don't want to tell you the wrong letter. It starts with G, though. I think it's 6 letters. G, H, I, J, K, L. Maybe G through L is July. That'll be coming up in July, starting July 1st. So anyway, if you have a discount that you'd like to offer for that month, great. I'm mainly looking for like companies that begin with that letter, or if you have products that begin with that letter, like patterns. A lot of people have been offering discounts on their patterns that begin with the letters of that month. That's great. If you're somebody for next month who would like to offer a prize, that would be awesome too. I don't have any prizes lined up other than Melinda's patterns for next month and whatever I'm donating. I'd love to add another prize to the mix for July as well. So if you're somebody whose business begins with the letters G through L, please feel free to contact me, and I'd be happy to talk to you about that. Let's see. Oh, good grief. I had a new thing. Let me stand up and get it. This is the episode where Lisa stands up live. See, this is what happens when I'm efficient and I actually put things away right away. Because 9 times out of 10, I podcast and I leave stuff lay for another week or two. And it doesn't get put away until the next time I podcast and have to get more stuff out. Yesterday, I was super efficient. I put everything away right away. Now I'm having to get it all out again. And clearly, I didn't think about that. Okay, I got some yarn in the mail this week from Highland Handmaids, from Heather. She's one of my favorite dyers ever. And it is the colorway Predatory. And I remember her showing this on her podcast a while ago, and this lighting is not doing this skein justice at all. I've got to get better lighting for this setup. I I remember her showing it, and I remembered that there was a story behind it. I couldn't remember what the inspiration was, though, so when I posted my Happy Mail Day picture on Instagram the other day, I said, I can't remember what the inspiration was for this. She posted, in response, a post of her own with the inspiration picture, and it's an owl. It's the face of an owl, and all of these colors are in it. And the owl's eyes, like, have this orangey, this awesome orange. And this orange is so much more awesome than what you're seeing. I wish it was coming out. Maybe if I put it right under the light here. That's a little better. Yeah, it's a great colorway. So I don't know what it's going to become, but I can't wait to make something out of it. And this is her Sugar Maple Sock Base, which is 75% superwash wool, 25% nylon, 425 yards. So that's my new thing. Yeah, I just couldn't resist that. I've been on so many like Etsy and big cartel sites lately that I've like had stuff in my cart and like, no, I cannot do this right now. And you'll understand why in a little bit, because I have another thing to tell you, but I can't keep buying all the things. I do have some new to me podcasts that don't cost anything to watch and enjoy. I already mentioned Yarn 30 with Katrina. I've been enjoying that. There's a podcast by Andy, who is Andre Sue Knits. I don't know how I stumbled upon her. I mean, probably one of those ones that they kind of pop up on YouTube sometimes if you've already been watching a certain type of podcast and like other people are watching this or whatever. So I found her. She's really fun. Pretend It's a Plan with Lisa. Oh my goodness, I really love that one. She's a hoot. Naughty Gnome Crafts, like I said, with Sarah. She was really enjoyable to watch her podcast. And Sarah's is fairly new too. I think there's maybe only a couple of episodes out. Yeah. Andy and Lisa's have been out a little bit longer. There's more episodes. And the other one that I didn't write down, but I also started watching was Sockmatician, I believe is the name of it, with Nathan. His episodes are super long. Well, longer than an hour. I won't say super long. This one actually may end up being longer than an hour today. But I started his, and the day that I started it, I had to keep stopping because I was doing other stuff and I wasn't able to just watch. And so I got through one episode, but just barely because I had to stop it and start it so many times. But he was super enjoyable to listen to, and I really liked the podcast. So if if you're somebody who likes to just put a podcast on and listen to a really long podcast while you're working on a project or doing something around the house, that would be a good one. That's when I watch the longer ones, like if I'm out there dying, because I know I'm going to be in the same spot for a really long time. I'll put longer ones on then, as opposed to like first thing in the morning. If I when I first wake up, I usually put podcasts on, but I tend to put shorter ones on because I know I'm only going to be sitting there with my coffee and my knitting for maybe a half hour or something. So anyway, now you know my podcast watching habits. I have a book review this week, and I'm glad I'm re-recording today too for that reason, because yesterday I really kind of babbled on and on and on and on and on about the book, not in a very orderly fashion. And so hopefully today I'll be able to do this a little bit better. The book is called Color Wheel Knits. It's put out by Cooperative Press, and it is by Veera Välimäki, whose name you probably recognize from the Color Affection shawl, because she was the designer for that. But it's called Color Wheel Knits, Knits for Hand-Dyed Yarns. So this is the cover. And I'm sorry, this is never very good when I'm trying to show this on screen. Let me talk to you, just give you the overview of this. When I first received the book from Cooperative Press and I saw the title, I thought, oh cool, this is going to be, a book a lot about, oh my goodness, what is doing that color? Like I suddenly have yellow everywhere. I don't know what's causing all the yellow. Anyway, I thought it was going to be color theory, some color theory oriented, related to knitting. That's not what it is at all. She talks about the use of color with hand-dyed yarns, which I find interesting, obviously, because I'm a hand dyer. Most of the yarns, actually all of the yarns represented in this book, are semi-solids or tonals. They are not, there's no variegateds, there are no self-stripings. Her take on this, the patterns make use of the depth and the texture that you get out of those, you know, more solid, single color, single shade yarns, which I can appreciate because I love me my semi-solids. You know that. I love to knit with them. I love tonals. They make me happy. And so the way the book is divided up is in color, in 4 sections: blue and green, red and pink, yellow, and then gray and brown. Now, the patterns within those sections, obviously they could be knit out of any color you wanted to. I'm not sure why she chose specific colors for those specific patterns. Maybe that was, you know, the yarn that was she had for them. You know, if the dyers sent her certain weights of yarn, or maybe she had certain colors in mind for some reason. That I'm not entirely clear on. I think it was just maybe, I don't want to say it was an arbitrary mechanism, but it was the mechanism she chose for dividing up the book. So it doesn't have anything specific that I can tell to do with the specific patterns. Like, they would not have to be in those color palettes. Okay. So, by the way, the photography in this book is gorgeous. Just saying. And I think it would be even more fun to have it in a paperback, like the actual physical book, because whenever you're looking at it on a screen like this, you're only seeing 1/2 of a 2-page layout. So like on this page, I'm seeing a sheep butt. The other half of the sheep is on the page prior. So there he is, looking all cute and sheepy. The first section before the pattern sections is called Color Play, and she talks about hand-dyed yarns and the use of hand dyeing with wool. Basically protein fibers is what she's talking about, and it's some general stuff about why is wool so wonderful to work with. Wool, there's a lot of reasons, and we talk about that a lot anyway. It's memory, it's the textures, the just the individual characteristics of different types of wool, and how she goes talking about how the dyeing of that yields such different results. So and she also talks a lot about how dyeing, it obviously began with natural dyeing, years and years and years ago, and then we got away from natural dyeing as synthetic dyes were created, and now there's this swing back to more people starting to natural dye again, which now today that yields us this very broad spectrum of color choices, which is pretty awesome, and I would agree with that. She does mention that all of the designs in this book are seamless, and they often feature different types of short rows to achieve the best possible fit. She's just trying to be very, it says the knitting vocabulary is a mixture of explicitness and short phrasing. So that's interesting. Anyway, I'm just going to show you some of the patterns. I am not going to show you every pattern in this book. I will say there are quite a few children's patterns in this book, and there are also several for men. Some of them could be either gender wearing them, but some of them are obvious. They're modeled by men, like the sweaters are, I think, meant for men. Those are 2 areas I don't knit. I don't knit sweaters for men, and I very, very rarely ever knit a children's garment. So those patterns, like, that's a chunk of this book that would not apply to me. If you're someone who knits those things, though, you might like them. There are several really lovely ladies patterns, female patterns, female-oriented patterns, I guess. And I'm going to show you some of those, because those are the ones that I really like the best. Okay, so this one, a lot of the women's patterns also are long. They're very tunicky. This is called Concrete. It is an easy-to-wear long pullover with a large, warming cowl, and I love that. I love that squishy cowl. I could totally see myself wearing this. There's a lot of texture in it. There's garter stitch ribbed with a rustic wool. The wool used in this is Luatar by Knit Lob's Lair. I've never heard of that dyer, so I don't know who that is, but it's a very pretty yarn. And again, on with the weird light? Oh my goodness. I don't know what's going on. I don't know why I'm suddenly getting yellow sometimes. This is weird. Anyway, it's a very pretty sweater. And one of the things that I really find interesting about this book is there's schematics for everything. But the schematics, and I'm going to try to show you this without showing you the whole pattern. If you can see that, it is a hand-drawn picture. I don't know how well that's coming out. It's hand-drawn and like watercolored. I just think that's so neat. And then it's got all of the, you know, measurements and everything in there. So all of the ones that have schematics are like that. It's really cool. And here's another picture of the sweater itself. Just really pretty texturally. So that's one that I really, really love. Let's see. There are also a lot of smaller garments, like hats and mittens. Oh, let's see. Scarves. There's a couple scarves in here. There's a cowl that I'm going to show you too once I get to it. As far as little kitty ones, this is a really adorable little girl sweater. I will say that. If I had a little girl to knit for, I would be very tempted to knit that. And again, I wish I could get this to focus better. There we go. Isn't that cute? It's got great cables, and it's got this curvy back. It's called Green Cables. Let me see if I can find the other picture. There's the one where you can see that, how it's shaped. I just think it's adorable. So that's part of the green and blue section. Some of the women's patterns, they're interesting. They're pushing the envelope of design to get a little more unique, and there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. As someone who prefers a little bit more classic lines in my garments, more traditional designs, the creativeness of some of these doesn't appeal to me personally, such as this one. Like the front of this sweater, I appreciate it for its unique design and the creativity behind that, but to me it looks messy. Like I would feel like it would be messy, and I would feel like my sweater was misbuttoned the way that is. So, but it's all personal preference, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with the sweater. It's a really pretty sweater, and I like the shawl collar on it. That garter section that's all potato chip floppy kind of, it's interesting. It's just not personally my taste. So let's see. Let's get into the next section. There's red. There's another little girly sweater in there. And there's a hat. And oh, here's a sweater. It's called Little Red. And this one's really cute. This is a garter stitch sweater. And I could see this sweater being worn as just sort of like an everyday go-to kind of cardigan. You know? It also has a hood, though. You can't see it in that picture, but you could probably do it without the hood. A lot of times I've left hoods off sweaters. There's a side view of it. Again, you don't really get to see the hood. I gotta tell you, some of the men's sweaters in here, there's two, and both of the male models look like they would rather be doing something else. This one is a, let me find the one picture. Okay, this is the second picture. The first one, he's kind of like, you know, and this is the second picture of it. Okay, he's not looking, that's not a natural pose. I'm sorry. It's just not. But it's a good picture of the sweater. There's not a whole lot of contrast between the striping that's going on and the background color, the main color. But I don't know if you can see it. The stripes do not go the whole way across. They actually break and do like this curvy design. It's actually very cool. The thing I'm not crazy about on this sweater for a man is the fact that the shoulders, at the top of the shoulders, there's buttons. That's something I can see on a baby sweater, but a sweater for a grown man, I'm not really too sure about that. But, you know, it's an interesting design concept. By here, I think he's had it. He's done. He's like, yeah, okay, can I take the sweater off now? That's what I envision him saying anyway. Let's see. Oh, here's another really pretty red woman's sweater. I can't, I'm sorry, my eyes won't let me read the small print. Afloat in red. And there is not a good single picture of this entire sweater the way I would like to see it, but it's a really pretty design. And I think what I love most about it is the red. Can I get it to... it's not going to focus very well. And yarn it was used for this is by the Uncommon Thread. So I'm not familiar with their yarn. I've heard them. But it's just, it's a very long, again, a long cardigan. It's got pockets. Let me see if I can find a better picture. Here it is from the back. So anyway, let's see. In the yellow section, which I love, I mean, they really, really, oh, I'm sorry. Is that the yellow section? Yes, yellow. Because I got to a sweater that was not at all yellow. Confused me. There's a couple more children's things in this section. There's some mittens. This one I like. This is actually 3 patterns. It's a hat, it's a cowl, it's mittens. And I really like how they showed them all in that one picture. That's a great photo of those 3 separate projects, obviously. And then lastly, gray and brown. Again, there's another long woman's sweater in that one. There's the other men's sweater, who this guy also doesn't look too thrilled to be modeling, but maybe he was just going for relaxed. I don't know. That's my own little pet peeve about, like, if you're going to model, you know, like, at least have some enthusiasm. You don't have to be like, but, you know. There's a fine line between nonchalance and boredom. Oh, here's the cowl. And this is just so pretty. And it's it's a simple design, but I just love how it lays, and it's very, very drapey. And it is called, what is it called? Grid Plan. And there's a good picture of it held open. It's nice and wide. You can see that. And if I can get it to focus, you might be able to see the contours that are knit into it. There you go. Can you see those contoured sections? It's just really, really unique. And it's got, you know, both garter and stockinette in it that just, I think, gives it that ability to drape. It's so pretty. So I really like that one. There's another woman's sweater at the end, and there's a scarf and a hat. This little kid's hat is actually really cute. It's called Beetle Cap, and it's knit in two ways. You knit you do the herringbone knit of the cap first, and then you knit out the brim separately. And I just think that's so cute. If I had a little kid to knit for, I probably would do that. Anyway, then there's a technique section at the end and abbreviations and everything. And there is a listing of all of the dyers that they used. Which for 22 patterns, I wish I would have seen more indie dyers. There were dyers like Malabrigo and Madeline Tosh used a lot, which I would have liked to have seen more smaller indie dyer yarns, just because, you know, she wants to show the way, you know, these yarns work with patterns. And there's so many independent dyers out there, not just me, I'm not talking about myself, but that, you know, we all have a different approach. And so I guess I don't know. I don't know what goes into putting together a book like this. And I've got to get rid of that yellow. And the yarns for the patterns. And I'm sure there's a lot that goes into that. But it would have been fun to have seen a little bit more of a variety of dyers involved. But the ones that they used, the yarns were absolutely beautiful. And there's several Finnish yarn companies represented, which was cool because Veera Välimäki is from Finland. And so obviously she was using Finnish yarn for some of them, which is very neat. I don't know how readily available those yarns are here in the States, if at all, but they're ones you might look into if you are so inclined. So anyway, all right, that was the book review, and as always, Cooperative Press is quite generous and is willing to give away a copy of the digital version of the book. So I do already have a thread up in the group, and you can enter to win a free copy of Color Wheel Knits if you are so inclined to like that. Or if you would like that, feel free to enter the drawing. Let's see, this is already getting close to an hour and I still have shop news to go over. So let me just briefly talk about 10% stuff. I'm getting my house pressure washed later today, which I'm very excited about. It's the first of several big house projects going on this summer. So yay. And the other ones will be the fact I'm getting my driveway paved this summer. I will no longer have to deal with a gravel driveway in the winter, which I cannot wait. I'm replacing, we have a storage tent. I'm sure you've seen them maybe where you live. I don't know. They're a framed, big industrial strength tent that you can store like outdoor stuff in. We've had one for a really long time. It's falling apart, literally. I'm getting rid of that and getting like this huge big shed thing put in the bottom of my driveway after it's paved. So that's, both of those things are going to be happening over the next couple of months. And a few other projects that I'll talk about as they happen. But all of these things are the reasons why I need to not click buy as often as I would like to whenever I see updates and things right now. My house is eating my money right at the moment, which is fine because these are all things that have needed to be done for a really, really long time. They were never a top priority when there was somebody else still living here, and I won't go any farther than that. But you probably know what I mean. But now that it's me and I can make these decisions, I am, and it's time to invest in my home because it is my home. It's where I work also, and I want it to be nice and I want it to last a really long time. So I'm having fun pampering my house with these things. I've been killing myself with yard work this summer though because it's been so difficult with all the rain we've been having. You know, I have to get out there and squeeze yard work in between rainstorms. And oh my goodness, I did so much last weekend. I mowed, I trimmed, I got the rest of the garden planted, I got the weed barrier down. I pruned my one tree in the front yard. I got tons of branches out of it that were dead and dying and just too many because it was too full. I started chopping out these horribly ugly hedges that have been growing in the middle of my backyard around this other tree for decades. They've been there for decades and they were just all gnarled and, you know, it looked like something out of some horror movie. So I got a whole bunch of those cut out this weekend. Trying to figure out why I'm getting moisture in my basement, so I ended up starting to dig up around the edge of my house some and was able to rule out one source of water, so that was a really good thing. So I still don't know where the water is coming from, but I need to work on that too. But yeah, today's pressure washing day, so yay, can't wait. Ironically, they don't pressure wash if it's raining. I guess maybe that's because they have to use ladders or scaffolding or something. I don't know. That would be dangerous, but I just thought that was pretty funny. It's like, you're using water anyway. Are you still coming if it rains? It's not supposed to rain today, though. So, in between all the working, like inside working and outside working and the rain, I have been able to enjoy my new swing a little bit. I've been getting out there and fire. I had my first backyard fire this past weekend, actually on Sunday for the summer solstice. I built a fire and knit down there for the evening. That was a lot of fun. So anyway, I am going to pause right here because I need to get all the shop stuff to bring over to show you. So let me do that. If you're not going to hang out for the shop preview part, then I'll just say goodbye now. But if you are, I will be right back. And I'll try to get everything in one fell swoop so that I don't have to keep hopping up and down. So I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. Time for the shop news section of the show. Just a reminder that June is the last month of the second quarter, so if you are entering anything into the second quarter finished object drawing for Fiber Nymph Dye Works, you have until the 30th. to do that. I'll probably leave it open overnight and close it like July 1st. But the knitting actually has to be done by the 30th. And that's anything that you have knit or crocheted or crafted in any way out of Fiber Nymph Dye Works yarn, or spun out of Fiber Nymph Dye Works fiber, or spun out of the fiber and then knit or whatever. Any of those things qualify. It does not have to be started in the second quarter. It only has to be finished in the second quarter. So it could be something that you had started prior. But please enter that. You need your finished object picture. And I will draw that winner on the first podcast after, like the first podcast in July, which will probably be the next podcast since I'm recording on Wednesday today. And next Wednesday is July 1st. So, and that's for a $25 gift certificate to my shop. So, anyway, and then the third quarter will start. Can't believe how fast this year is going. Otherwise, the only other news I have for you right now is a shop update, which is today, June 24th at noon. And I realize this is going out way late because of all of my technical difficulties in the storms yesterday. But hopefully when you see this, you might be able to run to the shop and still find some things there. It's a smallish update this time, but it's what I could get done. See, that's the other downside to all of the rain we've had lately. It is slowing my drying process down tremendously, which is very frustrating. Even with the fans and the dehumidifier running downstairs, it's just everything's taking a good 8 hours longer to dry than it normally does, which is making me crazy, but I can't do anything about it. So anyway, all right, what's going in the shop this week? Well, we've got some inversibles. So there will be some pink and black inversibles. I believe there's 3 sets of each of these. Pink and black, cherry and pink, and this was a set that someone special ordered and requested this colorway. I've never done this combination before, but now that I've done it, I love it. It's black and white. Oh my goodness, look, I match. Black and white. The white is just undyed, but it looks great. So I can't wait to see these knit up. That's so fun. Anyway, so I can't claim my shirt as inspiration for that. So those will be some inversibles going in the shop. The June minis of the month went out 2 days ago. Yeah, I shipped them out. So I had a couple of extras. So there will be 2 extra June minis of the month sets in the shop. And because apparently I cannot count, I ended up with like 3 just extra of the self-striping minis. So those are also going in the shop. Then regular full-size skeins. This was supposed to be the June mini of the month colorway, which is Party on the Coral Reef. I dyed it, and then I realized, oh, I used the wrong striping pattern. So this is the same colors, okay? The tropical blue, the peach, the oceany yellow and oceany green colors, but they're not the right striping pattern. So I am not calling this Party on the Coral Reef. I am calling this One of a Kind, and that's how you'll find it in there. It's much brighter than what it's showing up. This is going to make me, what if I put my, ooh, wow, yeah, lamp. I don't know. Ooh, that's not so bad. That's better. That's it. I'll just hold my lamp in my left hand while I do this. I've got to work on the lighting. Anyway, there will be 4 skeins of this. I apologize. This lighting issue. It's the bane of every podcaster's existence, I think. Other self-stripey stuff. Let's see. I have my Heavenly base. I did a bunch of stuff on this week. Well, not a bunch, but some. And this is Time to Make the Donuts, which has been around for a while, and it's a perennial favorite. And it's much brighter than this. All of the pictures are up for preview mode. Everything looks way better in the pictures than they are on the camera right now. Let's see, what else? I have Sad Panda also on Heavenly, and I also did some on the Traveler Sport base. See what I was talking about earlier? How MCN bases tend to dye up a little bit more muted than other bases. You can kind of see that difference on here. So anyway, that's neither here nor there. I'm just making a point or illustrating a point that I made earlier. So that's Sad Panda. There's 2 of each of those bases. And then I also did the March Mini of the Month striping colorway, which was So Berry Limey. I did some of those up on Bounce and some on Bedazzled, so those will also be in the shop. I have 2 new colorways for you this week in striping. This one, let me do this one first. This one I'm calling Cosmic. I wanted to play with some of my new dyes that I had used for the semi-solids the last time, for the last update, and I did. So this one has the Vivid Violet, which I'm using in the Afghan, and again, it's so much brighter in person than in this horrible lighting today. The Vivid Violet, the Electric Bubblegum, that's that bright purpley pink that breaks into both colors and is so cool, and then Silver Gray. I did this Silver Gray a little darker than I usually do it, and it's just a nice contrast. So anyway, some of those on Heavenly, some of those on Traveler Sport. Lastly, in striping, this other new colorway I'm calling Miami Vice. And if you ever watched Miami Vice back in the 80s, you'll recognize why I would be calling it that, because these colors, I think their logo was actually these colors, to tell you the truth. They just did those really bright pastel-y colors, if that's even possible. It sounds like opposites, but anyway. So I've got my fuchsia, which is not a new color. I've had the fuchsia for a while. And then that bright aqua that I have, that new one, I love it. And I wanted to do something with the aqua, and I was trying to figure out what to put it together with, and I was playing with different skeins of yarn, and it's like this. I had to do this, and then the white, because, you know, they had the white jackets, and then they had those, you know, brightly colored, you know, sleeveless tank tops on under sleeveless t-shirts underneath. It's just cool, and I don't know. It's maybe a little kitschy, but I like it. Now, I am going to give you full disclosure on this. This fuchsia color, it is very bright, very intense. And the aqua is too, although I'm not noticing the problem with the aqua. And it's not so much a problem, it's just a nature of very deep, rich, intense dye colors. And the fuchsia is definitely one of them that will do this. You're going to see residual dye released in your rinse water anytime you soak this. Not anytime, but like the first few times. I soak this stuff at least twice when I'm rinsing. Okay, so I've gotten most of it out, but for whatever reason, this pink just likes to continue to release residual dye. I have not been able to find a way to keep that from happening. The fact that there is white also in this yarn may be problematic for you if you are really worried about that. Here's my recommendation. This is my recommendation for any time you are washing any hand-dyed yarn. Not just mine, not just bright colors, but especially bright, intense, vivid colors, okay, of anybody's. Cool water. Do not use warm water. Do not use hot water. Cool water. It's just like your hair. If you get your hair colored and then you wash it in hot water, it's going to leach color out. It's going to, the dye that's underneath those scales is going to let go. And since this is superwash wool, it doesn't have the scales like a regular non-superwash would have. So it doesn't have as much holding it in, if that makes sense. So you want to be kind temperature-wise. You don't want to leave your stuff soak just forever. You want to, you know, leave it in there long enough to do what you're doing with it. I highly recommend not using harsh soaps with anything. If you're just soaking something to block it, you don't need soak or Eucalan or dish tray. You don't need anything. Just nice, cool water. Give it a little bath. Take it out. Pat it out gently, not wringing. You know, put it in a towel, roll it up, squeeze the water out. That's the best way to preserve the colors of your yarn, no matter who has hand-dyed it. I've been doing this long enough to know that that's what works best. I've been knitting with other hand dyers yarns long enough to know that's what works best. Everything I dye is heat set. I use citric acid to activate my dyes. Everything's heat set, and again, it's all rinsed at least once, if not twice. Light colors, once is all I need because it comes out totally clear. Anything that is showing any residual dye left in the water always gets a second rinse, which usually takes care of the bulk of it. But I just wanted to point that out now because this fuchsia is definitely one of my very few horrible offenders of still wanting to release residual dye in rinse water. And since there's white in here, that could be a problem for you if you're afraid of that. The Shout color catchers, you can actually put that in your rinse water too, and that will sometimes help catch any of that residual color. But just wanted to put that out there. Total disclosure. Okay, as far as tonal yarns, I did do some of those as well. And this is one I have not done in a while, but it's always been a favorite, is Ode to Van Gogh, which is, again, much darker and more intense than this is showing. This is on Bedazzled, and I also did some on my new Serenity 2 base, which is the Superwash BFL bamboo base, so it's got that nice sheen. The Bedazzled, of course, has the sparkle. So there will be some of those. And then also on those two bases is I Am No Mermaid. And I just love the bamboo. I love the sheen of the bamboo, and I like how soft the colors turn out on the bamboo base. So there will be those. And then, as I told you last time, I was going to put some fiber up in the shop this time. And I do have some fiber. I don't have as much as I wanted to because, again, of the drying times and issues I've been having. But there's some. So this is what I've got this time. There will be more next time. On Falkland, I have 2 braids of the new colorway, which is not showing up well. Gosh, this is driving me crazy. I don't know where to get the best color on this. This is really looking washed out. Anyway, this is Cosmic, the new colorway that I showed you on yarn. So there's 2 skeins of that, or 2 braids of that. Then I have some BFL silk, which is one of my favorite fibers, both to dye and spin. I did Ocean View. Oh, now see, that looks good. Ocean View. There's a couple of those, and Frosted Blossoms, which is brighter. It'll be brighter in the picture if you look in the shop. So there's a couple of those. And then lastly, on Polworth, I did some of the June Mini of the Month colorway, that Party on the Coral Reef. I love how it turned out. I love Polworth. It's such a soft, squishy, squishy, bouncy fiber, and it takes color so issly. Again, it's more vibrant in person. So there's a couple of those, and then I did Doubletree, which I did 2 different braids of it. This one turned out a little darker. The other one's a little lighter, so I'm listing those separately just because they are significantly different looking. There's a little bit of natural. They did not get dye right there, but as it's very small, and as you spin it, it's going to blend together, but just so you know it's there. So anyway, Doubletree. I think that's everything now. And I want to stop because this is well over an hour. It's one of those long podcasts this time. Book reviews always do that. That's why I tend to not do them very often because they always take so long. But I really wanted to do that one. So I hope you enjoyed it. Anyway, again, the shop update will be today at noon Eastern. Hopefully there will still be something there if you're watching this much later. I'm sorry, again, for the late podcasting, but the weather has been against me this week, and the storms and the computer issues, so doing the best I can. Anyway, have a great rest of your week. I hope you are doing knitting and crafting all kinds of wonderful things, and until the next time, I'll see you later. Bye.